There's a new open-source AI agent release that's making some serious waves, but maybe not for the reasons you'd expect. Hermes Agent version 0.8.0. This isn't just some cosmetic update or another point on a benchmark. It's hinting at a fundamental shift in how these systems actually operate. So, is this the real deal, and could it actually change what we should expect from AI agents? Let's break it down.
First, we've got to admit something. The promise of AI agents is absolutely huge, right? We're talking autonomous systems that can manage these complex, long-running tasks for us. But the reality is that most of them still feel pretty clumsy. They get blocked, they get stuck just waiting, they lose track of what they were doing, or you have to constantly check in on them manually. This gap, the one between the hype and the day-to-day unreliability, that is the central problem in the agent space right now.
And that is the exact problem that the Hermes v0.8.0 release is trying to solve. You see, this update is all about operational maturity. It's a deliberate move away from just chasing simple performance benchmarks and a turn towards something that's way harder, building genuine workflow intelligence.
So here's the crucial point. The core change is all about workflow maturity. This is being driven by a few key improvements, like background task notifications, which means the agent doesn't have to just sit around and wait. You've got live model switching, allowing it to change its strategy mid-task, and there's native support for new providers like Google's Gemini, making it way more flexible. All of this together, it's a signal that this project is getting really serious about operations.
Now, to really get why these updates are such a big deal, we need to understand what Hermes Agent is trying to be. This isn't being positioned as just another chatbot or a simple coding assistant. No, its creators at Noah's Research are presenting it as something much more ambitious. A persistent system, an agent that's designed to live on a server, to grow and learn over time, and to work across a bunch of different platforms.
Hermes is basically competing in this emerging category called agent runtimes. So think of it less like a one-off script you run, and more like a continuous operational identity for an AI. It's MIT licensed, it's open source, and it's built to live on your own infrastructure, remember what it learns, and be there for you wherever you do your work. And that positioning is really key here.
You see, because it's designed to be this persistent, multi-interface system, updates to its underlying connective tissue become absolutely essential. I mean, when an agent can be accessed from the command line, from Slack, and from Discord all at the same time, features like notifications, timeouts, and model switching, they're not just nice-to-haves. They're the very things that determine if the whole system is actually usable or not.
All right, so this leads us right to the heart of this update, which is officially called the Intelligence Release. And that name is no accident. It's a deliberate pivot. After the last version focused on foundational stability, the project is now shifting its full attention to enabling more intelligent in-workflow behavior. And if you look at the project's recent history, you can see this shift happening in real time.
This contrast here tells you everything you need to know. Just a few days earlier, version 0.7.0 was called the Resilience Release. It was all about hardening the system, improving memory, making sure sessions didn't crash. Basically, it was about survival, just keeping the lights on. Now, version 0.8.0, the Intelligence Release, shifts that focus to notifications, smart routing, and model switching. This shows a project that's moving up the maturity curve from just staying alive to actually behaving intelligently.
You know, the one feature with probably the biggest day-to-day impact is the background auto notifications. Before, if an agent was running a long software build, it would either freeze up completely or have to constantly ask, "Are we there yet?" This new workflow completely changes that rhythm. The agent can kick off a long task, go work on something else, and then get an automatic ping the moment that first job is done. You can then pick up right where it left off. That right there, that's the line between a cool demo and a tool you'd actually use every day.
Smart timeouts mean a task that's working hard for hours doesn't get killed by mistake. And those native approval buttons? That's a critical layer of safety when you're working in shared places like Slack.
Now, not everything in this release is flashy, but some of the most important changes are the ones happening under the hood. We're talking about centralized logging for better visibility, configuration validation to catch mistakes early, and a really significant security hardening pass that covers everything from server-side request forgery, that's SSRF, to timing attacks.
Okay, but for this to be a credible analysis, we have to balance the impressive upgrades with the very real risks. Because shipping features this quickly in a system this complex, well, that doesn't come without challenges, and the project's own issue tracker makes that perfectly clear.
If you actually compare the official highlights with the open issues logged on the day of the release, you see the other side of the coin.
There are documented issues with things like provider misrouting, weird timeout behavior, and even session memory contamination.
So the truth check here is pretty simple. Hermes is becoming an increasingly serious platform, but it is not a finished product. As you add more complexity, persistent memory, multi-provider routing, background jobs, you naturally create more ways for things to break. This is the classic trade-off for having such an ambitious scope. At the end of the day, it's a fast-moving open-source project, not a settled enterprise tool.
So the critical path for Hermes over the next 6 to 12 months will be all about its ability to convert that feature velocity into dependable behavior. That means cleaner routing, fewer regressions between releases, and much stronger isolation to prevent problems like memory contamination. If it can pull this off, it solidifies its place as a powerful, open alternative to all the closed agent systems out there. Because the real agent race, it's no longer about flashy demos. It's about building durable, trustworthy workflow architecture.
So the final takeaway is this: Hermes Agent v0.8.0 is a big deal, not because it looks smarter, but because it behaves more like a serious operational system. That focus on workflow, on notifications, on reliability, that's why it's getting so much attention. But while it is more capable and more usable than it has ever been, its ability to deliver stable, production-grade trust, that remains the ultimate open question. And that is what makes this a project worth watching very, very closely.